Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside Now. I'm Brent West, along with Jack Lord and Rodney West. We were going to bring you a lot of things going on in the pro wrestling business, industry, whatever you want to call it these days. Rodney, you're not your mic's not working. First of all, Jack, we lost Rocky King this week. Had he been sick?
Yeah, he has had a lot of health issues over the last several years. He had a stroke about a year or so ago, and was kind of coming back from that. So I don't really know, what recently had gone on. Honestly, it'd been about a year since I had talked to him last.
Rocky King, I always liked him. Always a nice guy.
Good,
Always.
good guy. And here's the thing about Rocky is, uh, you know, I had people make comments about that he didn't have a stellar career per se, and use the jobber term towards him, which I didn't. My daughter knocked stuff over here, and
We got
but
the thing.
he yeah, he was an outstanding wrestler. Maybe didn't get the push that he deserved. Certainly didn't. But as a member of his community, he made a huge difference in the Atlanta area, working with the homeless. So, if we don't remember him in any other way, let's just remember that Rocky King made a huge difference in this world.
Yeah, and the word jobber, I cannot stand that word.
I can't stand it.
Because they were actually guys that was very important to the wrestling business, and Rocky King and a bunch of others understood the role in pro wrestling, and so Rocky King, our condolences to his family, friends, and his fans. He will be missed, no doubt. Rodney, now what was you going to say to us before your mic wasn't working?
I was going to say we need to make sure we get to talk about Rocky King. So there you have it. You've already way ahead of me.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it was very important that we do that off the bat.
Also, another thing, Triple H officially retired, I think, on Fox News, correct? He said he could not wrestle ever again.
I think it was ESPN he did an interview for. But, yeah, now he hasn't wrestled actually. His last actual match was in 2019 in Tokyo, but he did a brawl with Randy Orton, I think 2 years ago. But he had not been active since then, although there were plans in place for him to wrestle on WrestleMania this year.
Well, you also have to think to yourself, will he be able, if he was going to take over Vince McMahon's, would he even be able to do that at this point? Would it be too much? Because I think they said he might have had like the Widowmaker or whatever they call it.
Yeah, you kind of have to read between the lines on some of the stuff that's came out about that interview. He does have a job there. He's basically going to be looking for talent and helping, get new talent signed. But it is a huge difference in what he was doing before. I think they've purposely moved to taking less of the strenuous stuff off of him because he's not able to do that. I don't know if that's a permanent thing or if it's just something, to give him time to recover and yet still keep him doing what he loves doing. From my understanding, he's not full time in the office yet.
That's kind of sad because he was a tremendous wrestler in the ring, and he could have gave a lot to the wrestling business. Later on, we're going to talk about we had two. Well, more than two. We had a lot of messages talking about All Elite Wrestling. They asked a question, and this is the question they asked: do you believe that AEW will ever defeat WWE in the ratings? And a couple other questions we'll get into about All Elite Wrestling. We'll all give our opinions and about the questions that they ask. Also, we had a question about shoes in professional wrestling. You wearing shoes instead of wearing boots. I think we talked about that, but we're going to give you a little bit more insight. Someone emailed us and said that a few wrestlers didn't like that we talked about shoes, and they shouldn't be wearing shoes in professional.
Hold it. I'm going to stop you right there. If you're wearing shoes, you cannot call yourself a wrestler.
Maybe
Don't be calling yourself a wrestler if you're running around with tennis shoes on, people. That is, you're not a wrestler. Get you some gear.
There you go. See, Rodney's already told you. I was trying to
Be nice about it.
I was trying to like build that up. Rodney just.
Well, that's all right. I just went ahead. I just had to jump in and say you cannot call yourself a wrestler if you're running around with tennis shoes on.
And we'll talk about that in length a little bit about that. And
a little bit later on in the broadcast. Yes.
On this broadcast. So stay tuned. Tell your people about it. Tell everybody about it. Listen, we're either going to say good things or bad things about WWE and AEW. You'll find out here soon. Let's talk about the top 100 wrestlers. And I'm going to go through mine very quickly because we've talked about all three of these in length. Number 45, Pat O'Connor, great world champion, AWA champion. Number 44, Bullet Bob Armstrong. And number 43, Jackie Fargo. All great professional wrestlers. And we've talked about them, so we don't have to go in length about them. Rodney, 43, 44, 45 on your list.
45, Mr. Wrestling, Tim Woods.
Yes.
Awesome wrestler. No matter where he was at, he was fantastic. Number 44, the Macho Man, Randy Savage, innovator in professional wrestling, no doubt about it. Steals the show every time he was on, no matter what show he was on. All the way back to Nick Goulas and Chattanooga and Nashville, just a tremendous wrestler. And number 43 is a man that I've had tremendous respect for all my life. And just the other day, I watched him in a match in Dothan, Alabama against Mr. Saito, and that was just a tremendous match. And I'm talking about Bill Dundee, a good friend of ours. And can't have a list from my list. I can't have him without having Bill Dundee on it.
That's true. That's true. All right, Jack, 43, 44, 45.
45, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yes, I agree.
Number 44, Tully Blanchard. And number 43, Arn Henderson.
We've talked about all those guys in length, so we don't have to really go into a deep conversation about them. Let's now get right directly to shoes, wearing shoes in professional wrestling. We had a couple emails, and what the emails basically said, and messages basically said, that a few of the wrestlers took a little bit of some, they evidently wore shoes. Gathering, they wore shoes. That they had a problem with us because we talked about that a wrestler should wear wrestling boots, not shoes. Now, and they said, well, evidently, we're just them old farts, evidently, okay? That thing, boots, that wrestling has evolved.
Yes.
To being able to wear shoes and kick pads and stuff. And this is the way I look at it. And this is my point on this. If the promoter doesn't care that you wear shoes, well, all right, wear shoes. But that does not make you a professional wrestler. Every business has an outfit. If you're a police officer, you wear a uniform. There's a uniform you wear. If you're welding, well, guess what? You're going to have a little thing and you're going to weld. You're going to wear maybe some gloves to weld with. To be a professional wrestler, I believe you have to have wrestling boots, some tights or trunks. You could have a full length, you could have it, but you at least need to look like a wrestler. Because the guy in the front row's got tennis shoes on. He doesn't wear boots. Well, some people don't wear wrestling boots to the show. Jack, we got the people in the uproar over this particular instance.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the thing to me is that wrestlers don't need to be like the people buying tickets. If you're a fan, I love the fans. I do. But if I'm a fan and I'm coming in and I'm wearing my sweatpants and I'm wearing my tennis shoes and I'm wearing my Pro Wrestling Inside and Out t-shirt, available at ProWrestlingTees.com, by the way. Um, I don't want to look in the ring and see a guy dressed like me. You know, wrestling is about being different. But when you look like everybody else buying a ticket, maybe you need to be buying a ticket. Now, now, there are instances where I can see wherein, let's take John Cena. He came into the
Please
wrestling
do.
business. he had a ton of boots, matching tights, but they changed his gimmick. What he wore coincided with the gimmick that he was doing. How many of the old country style gimmicks have we had since the 40s and 50s? Where they came in and you had wrestlers and work boots, or you had them barefooted and overalls. Those were gimmicks. There was a specific reason why they looked that way. But if everybody on the show wrestled without shoes or they wrestled in overalls, then it doesn't mean anything. And now we're getting to that stage in wrestling where guys are wrestling like they've come out of Walmart, buying shorts, t-shirts, and tennis shoes. And I don't like the look because you're not setting yourself apart. Look the part, invest in yourself. There's a reason for wrestling boots too. They protect your ankles. So, uh, again, there's a few exceptions to the rules. There's always exceptions to the rules. But overall, everybody can't be the exception. Somebody actually has to look like wrestlers. And there's still a few out there. Maybe y'all should be emulating those guys instead of the others.
Yeah, and maybe they just can't afford wrestling boots. Maybe that's the problem that they're trying to
Well,
fix.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The price of wrestling boots has gone down over the years. The last pair of wrestling boots that I bought, I paid $750 for.
Wow.
You can buy them for $250 now. And if you can't afford $250 for a pair of wrestling boots, maybe this isn't what you need to be doing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Rodney, your thoughts on us making people a little upset over these
I,
issues?
I disagree with Jack. I think they do come just working from Walmart and going right to the ring.
Oh,
McDonald's, that's the reason they want to be right there in their McDonald's uniform. Their finish is the Flying Big Mac.
their high spots is the fries, the flipping fries.
They would call it the McFlurry, but it's always down.
Oh, all right. But anyway, we did make people mad.
Sad. You're very sad, people. You're very sad. You need to be a professional. You need to, if you're going to do it right. If not, just stay at home. Just stay at home. Will there's always, you can throw your ring up in the backyard and it'll be just as good.
And this is the thing. If the promoter's all right with it, fine. But if a promoter comes to you and asks you to wear boots, do wear the boots. Come on, get you a pair of boots. If you don't have them, say I don't have them, and the promoter can say, okay, well, I'm not going to book you until you get some boots. Do what the promoter asks you to do. They're the ones putting all their money and all their time and all their resources into this. Show a little respect for the
Buy
promoter.
you some boots and then really go in there and make sure to make a stand for your music. That's what's very important.
I'll never forget Larry Zabisco one time. Man. I may have told this story. We was in Dothan, Alabama, and I went back there to ask everybody what their weights were and where they were from. And I said, "Hey, Larry, where are you?" He said, "Oh, so and so, 200." So it don't matter. It don't matter. I said, wait a minute. I don't know about that. Kevin Nash over there had a problem one time, and even try to do bodily injury to me over he said, wait just a second. He said, we can't let this go. And he went over to Kevin. He said, let me ask you a question. Do you have a problem with your weight? He said, you shouldn't have been having any problem with your weight. You should have been having a problem with that bad wrestling ability you have. Maybe you need to worry about that instead of your weight. That's what he told. Scott Hall was there. Kevin Nash wasn't really working for Dusty Rhodes at the time. We were in Dothan, Alabama. But he rode down with Scott. Scott was on the card in Dothan. All right, now let's talk about this just for a second. We got a couple of texts, messages, I guess they are messages, and a couple of emails that ask us about AEW, and they wanted to know: do you think AEW will ever beat WWE in the ratings? And they said, where do you see AEW 5 years from now? Rodney, I'll let you answer that question first.
If your goal is to beat the WWE, you're wasting your time, and you should just pack up, throw the ring in the back of the car, and take it on to the house. That is not a noble goal to beat WWE. You need to make your own success with your own show and with your own stars. That is should be their main objective, but it is simply not. And they will never beat Vince McMahon until they've realized that following Vince to wherever he goes leads you to disaster. And if you don't believe that, just check out what happened to WCW. That's just the bottom line, because WCW had, and Time Warner had the money. They could have kept it going. But as long as you're trying to follow Vince, you're going to follow him. All right. He's going to keep going forward and up and keep going up higher, and you're going into the ditch.
There you go.
But
Jack?
I am not sure that the producers of NCIS worry about what ratings Law and Order are doing on another channel on another night. Now, they're both of the same genre, but one doesn't matter to the other. NCIS worries about Monday nights building their following. Same thing for Law and Order. I think they're Thursday nights. That's what AEW needs to be concerned about. Build on their night where there's nobody else on. Worry about the other shows on the other networks that are not wrestling that you still need to overcome. Vince worries about Monday Night Football because that actually cuts into his rating.
Yeah.
So he has to do things in order to combat that. He doesn't combat AEW because he's not concerned about them, nor should he be. AEW should not be concerned with WWE. Different products, different nights, different talent. Build your own product. Forget about everybody else.
right.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, when you look at WWE and you look at where they may be 5 years from now, that's all going to be up to where Vince McMahon is 5 years from now. Let's be honest. That territory, WWE, it lives and breathes by Vince McMahon. And no matter what people want to say, well, he's out of touch or what, still Vince McMahon is the driving force to WWE and has been for 40 years. And don't let Nick Khan is a very brilliant man. Let's be honest. He knows how to go get that deal. He knows business wise, he's great. But put him involved with, and he's taking care of the wrestling instead of Vince McMahon. Man, where's that going to put WWE? He may know business, but does he know wrestling? That's the one thing. At least Vince McMahon learned from the best. He learned from his father. And and he was one of the best and drew a lot of money in that one little territory and became a millionaire just running in that territory, New York. So I don't see that. AEW 5 years from now, I don't know that AEW will be here 5 years from now. And if they are, they're going to be a completely different AEW. And the reason I say that because it's always based on the next WWE wrestler that they're going to bring in. All their ratings are based on that. And I don't think if you look at Vince McMahon, people get mad because they got rid of certain wrestlers, but he only got rid of them because the book said that they didn't get ratings. The merchandise wasn't selling. And then he didn't get rid of them if they were doing well. He got rid of them if they didn't do well. He only got rid of people that didn't do good. So is it going to help them? They pay people $3 million a year, $2 million a year, another $3 million, another $2 million a year, and it hasn't really done anything to the ratings, but for a very short amount of time. Well, what happens when all that WWE talent is gone and you're not getting no more? WCW for the fact that they took all WCW wrestlers they could take, WWE wrestlers they could take, and then there was no more wrestlers to bring in to make a big deal. They went down. Tony Khan's making that same mistake. And if he continues making a mistake, he will eventually get where WCW 10 Turner was. And that's he'll have to go out of business because Daddy's going to quit putting the money into it. And the only reason I know that because they quit putting money in, they lost $50 million on some project, and they decided it's gone. So how much will he lose? And he's going to lose if he continues paying the money out that he's paying. You can't, it's like promoters, even promoters today. There's no way if you put 10 legends on the card, there is no way you made any money, even if you did 1,000 people. There's just no way you paid it all out, and I think that's what's happening to AEW.
Well, I hate to
thoughts on that.
I hate to agree with Eric Bischoff. It pains me to do so, but there's a commercial he's doing right now promoting his podcast in which he talks about AEW. If they want to survive, they're going to have to come up with decent storylines. And it's their job to do that. And just to bring in, as we were saying, the next whoever we can steal from WWE, it's not going to cut it. It's about their storylines. He said in that statement, he said they could take every single WWE star, every last one of them, and not be able to do anything with them because they don't know how to develop storyline. And it was brutal, but I thought he was spot on.
Jack, what do you think?
I agree. They still have a lot of mountains to overcome there. Arn Anderson did an interview just in the last couple of days where he talked about one of the problems that he sees that they all see is that they basically have too much talent. Yeah. So, they bring somebody on and you get them 2-3 weeks, maybe 4 of TV time, and then you don't see them for a couple of months. So there's no way to build momentum that way. But on the other hand, they can't afford, they have to put the CM Punks, they have to put the Daniel Bryans out there as much as possible because that's what's drawing ratings. So it's, they have a lot of issues that they have to address and figure out a way to utilize those new talents, to actually put them in storylines, and keep them consistent because that's how people get used to and actually want to see those young talents is when they see them often enough involved in something that catches their interest.
And I agree with that. But if what I did today is I actually sat down and I wrote down and I forgot. I had a whole list and I forgot to put it on here, but it showed the ratings from the time they started until now, and the only time they got really up was the CM Punk stuff and the Daniel Bryant stuff, or Daniel, whatever his name is now.
Brian Danielson.
Daniel
Bryanson.
Down to the 900,000, 800,000 that they had been doing prior to it. And that's sad when you can't even, you've got the hottest thing. I don't know about y'all, but have you seen the stupid stuff they did with Matt and Jeff Hardy? Just stupid stuff. You had the ability to draw a lot of money with them.
Jeff Hardy's there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But they put them. They had a Texas Tornado match in 2 weeks after he had been there. And I'm thinking, why in the world are you thinking? Why would you do that? That nothing has happened that they should have a Texas Death Tornado, whatever they had match they had. It just made no sense to me. And I've seen that and I'm thinking, what are y'all doing? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. So I really believe Daddy Khan, we'll call him Daddy Khan because there's all kinds of cons involved with wrestling now. Daddy Khan will eventually give up on it and he will say, no more money. I'm giving you And that's just all there is to it. You're giving away too much money to guys that really you shouldn't give it to. So that's just that's the thing. Because you think he's got a group of people that sit there going, "All right, now this is what so and so does on his ratings." Did you know that Joel Getner got the same rating in his match than you that Matt Hardy got, and you're paying Matt Hardy $700,000, and you paid him 106? I think you might want to get rid of Matt Hardy because you're paying him too much money when this guy that you're paying $102,000, $140,000 a year is getting the same ratings that Matt Hardy gets. Be very smart when you're doing professional wrestling or business in general, or you will eventually, as Dutch Mantel said, don't get into the toilet paper business
or revolving doors.
Revolving doors, because you'll eventually get wiped out.
You know, every time you turn around, you'll get.
And also wrestling as well.
That's exactly right.
Get wiped out. And believe me, we just know. I just been there, done that. We wrote that book several times. And they're going to have to do something with talent. And let's talk about Logan. What's her name, Jack?
Valtour.
Serious injury. For those of you who don't know her, she's a lady wrestler. Jack, tell a little bit about what happened with her.
She was wrestling, I believe, on a show in Indiana. Did a spot like I have seen so many in the last few years do, where you go into the turnbuckle and you go on over to hit the top of the turnbuckle, to sell it even bigger. And she misjudged and wound up, I think she has two fractures of her forehead. She broke her sinus cavity. She's going to have surgery on that to keep from losing an eye. It's it's a very serious thing. Simple move. Yeah, I mean, I watched the match yesterday, and I thought it really didn't look that bad. But boy, when you see the end result, it was pretty bad. And this is a young lady who is really good at what she does.
At some point too, people are going to have to understand. Don't do that kind of stuff and all the time. Eliminate some of that high stuff that you're doing that could hurt you, because you want a long career. Now she's going to be afraid to go out there and do anything, and you couldn't blame her. But I was talking about this today. Let's say, for instance, you came to a guy. Let's say you went to Dick Murdoch, and Jack Lord had just started in 1984. And he said, now, and the promoter came to Dick Murdoch and said, "Listen, Jack is going to hit you with a chair. He's going to stop you right there." I said, "Wait, what do you mean? Jack's going to do what?" Now, he's only wrestled for not even a year, maybe 6 months. He's going to hit me with what? A chair in the head? No. Jack Lord ain't hit me. He's only wrestled 6 months. He ain't hitting me with a chair in the head. No. I'll hit him in the head with a chair, but he ain't hit me with nothing. Because he knew that you'd not been in business long enough to be hitting someone with a chair. It's because he was like, "Well, I don't know if I can trust him to hit me with a chair the way that it needs to be hit." I think that's the one thing that I think people are doing things. I seen a guy get to the top rope, do a somersault. He missed the guy completely, landed right on his tailbone, and I'm pretty sure he broke his hip or his tailbone or anything else that he had going. People doing flips and they land on their legs and just break their legs. Is this to a point that wrestlers are not being trained? Period.
They're getting trained. They're not getting trained to do the kind of stuff that they're actually getting out there and doing. I don't think. There's just a big lag in between. What they're taught in the ring, I think, is the basics, and they're watching TV now, and so they think they can do everything that they see on TV. So they're not being trained for that. A lot of them get in their mind, "Hey, that doesn't look that hard, so I'm going to do it." Because basically, I mean, if you go to any independent show, you're seeing everything AEW and WWE does on their TV, which we all know what you do on TV is not what you do in arenas. But these folks don't know that. And the reason they don't know that is because they're not being taught to not know that.
So they're basically being trained and said, okay, there you go. There's nobody really that used to be promoters that would sit and say, hey, I saw you do something in a match. Don't do that again. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to hurt yourself. Don't do that again. And that did happen in the territory days when they would have a young wrestler, they'd do something in a match. They said, don't know if you need to do that again. You're going to hurt yourself. So don't do that anymore. And because you want a long career, you want to wrestle for 30 years. And back then, you couldn't in the territory system. You could have a 30-year career and go to all the territories over and over again and work for 30 years and retire. Rodney, what do you think? Guys just doing too many stunt show stuff? Is it come down? Has the wrestling business become a stunt show?
That's all it is. But then also, none of these wrestlers that we're talking about wrestle on a daily basis. They do it if they're lucky one time a week, if they're lucky. And so it's not an everyday thing. So where a promoter such as Ron Fuller would have invested all kinds of time, TV time to get you over, and then it comes down to it, you can't wrestle because you're hurt. That does him no good. The move that you did, that high risk move that you did, it pays nothing. It pays you're finished. He has to start all over again. So it didn't work back then. But now, you only have the 1 day a week. Why not? They don't have to worry about it. And if they don't come back to that town, the next week or next month, it doesn't matter because people didn't want to see them in the first place. What?
And I have seen the mentality of some that are only wrestling 1, maybe 2 shows a week, where they, think, well, if I get hurt a little bit, I got a week to recover.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. I mean, even, I started as an independent wrestler, outlaw.
Yeah.
No shame in that. But I was still doing 4 and 5 shows a week when I started.
Yeah.
And the more shows you do, the quicker you learn, of course, but also you learn not to take chances. Less is more. I think that's one of the biggest lessons nobody teaches. You don't have to kill yourself. If you can get the crowd up and into what you're doing with a side headlock, then there's no sense doing over the top rope stuff.
No.
I'm gonna tell you, I had the best weekend ever. I got to sit down and watch Southeastern Championship Wrestling from 1981 all the way up to 1984, 85. And it was just the who's who of wrestling, of wrestlers who knew how to make that connection to the wrestling fans. And it was a pleasure to see it. It was absolutely a pleasure to see it. That studio there in Dothan, Channel 4, was on fire. And every wrestler that come out there, they had made that connection with the fans. It was tremendous. And when you looked at those houses, that farm center or Birmingham was packed. It was packed. It was just unbelievable. And it was just a pleasure to see that again.
Don't you think sometimes though that these people will do high spots where they really should be something that they did as a finish, so it meant something? I think sometimes they're doing high spots that are so extraordinary that they get hurt with it means nothing, and they should only do those type things when it's going to mean something and it's going to draw money. They're going to make money. That's I think that's the.
I have had promoters tell me, the matches were great, but the crowd didn't pop on the finish like I thought they would. And my response to that is, why would they? You've given them, 40 different finishes in that match, so that when you finally do the actual finish, it doesn't mean anything because people are not expecting it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go to the insiders. We've got on our phone. If you want to send a message, if you have a message, unfortunately we had about 20 talking about AEW, and we had about 30 on the wrestling shoes, and that's probably all wrestlers. But but we did have them. And but if you want to send one, you can do that. You can send it to Pro Wrestling Inside and Out at gmail.com, and we will answer your question on the show, or you can actually message us through the Facebook page as well, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it. It may not be that week. Sometimes we already have our stuff figured out, but we will get back to it soon. Jason Mundy says, hello, everyone. Richard Hood said, rest in peace, Rocky King. Wendy Harkins, same thing, rest in peace, Rocky King as well. Michael Barr, hello from Southeast Alabama. Michael Barr also said, rest in peace, Rocky King. Dr. Philbo Grice, hello, distinguished professors. Well, after this one, we probably won't be too many people with distinguished. We'll probably be some, not professionals.
Professors will not be what they're called, and those words that they would be called at this point, we cannot repeat on this show.
This is true. Good evening, guys. Would you say Roman Reigns has gotten better with his promos? I like him better as a heel. I think he has. Jack?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't know that they're ever going to be able to make Roman Reigns or anybody on the same level as Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I think they're headed in the right direction with Roman Reigns. He certainly understands the business. He grew up in the business, and he's not afraid to be a heel. And that is something that so many today are missing. But yeah, I think he's improved dynamically since they turned him heel. He has got on that horse and he has rode it hard.
Rodney?
He sounds great, especially muted. The way I watch the show. It's true. I don't have the sound up. I have it fast forwarded because I can't stand the commentaries.
By the way, Kevin, Rodney's not listening to any of it. He's watching it like you'd be watching it back when they had no sound. So,
I watched it. Well, it's so much better. I have to tell you when you're not listening to it.
Surfacing. And Jack, maybe you know where this is at, but there's a video that has surfaced. And in this video, there's a springboards that spring in these wrestlers from outside into the ring. What is this a new video?
No, that's from back in the 50s, I believe, and it was filmed in France. And I believe it was part of a circus deal that they were trying to do during this time period.
It was very interesting.
Yeah,
it was very interesting. And hey, guess what? That's what AEW is now. So if you want to watch it, that's the same thing. So it's nothing new. He just went and watched that video and said, "Oh, I'll be surprised if that don't show up on some AEW show." By the way, on top of that, DDT Wrestling, which is in Japan. Did you hear that they have an agreement set with AEW? They're certainly not going to bring this goofy style of wrestling and put it on TBS, are they?
Yes, they are.
And what's so bad about it? This is the place where they wrestled the Invisible Man, that they wrestled the dolls, little kids. You put that on TBS, or you even put anything on there close to TBS, I think they'll drop you off the television in no time flat. So if they're wanting to get put off television and they want to have an excuse because they don't want to lose no more money, that's a great excuse to have. Put those people on their program. By the way, just watch DDT Wrestling on that. It's horrible. All right, let's get away from that. Kevin Finley. By the way, you see Mike Jackson wrestle Matt Cardona on YouTube. Is that on Impact Wrestling?
That may have been where he wrestled him at. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I did see him. Very good. It was very good. Mike Jackson still better than most wrestlers that are wrestling today out there.
Did Mike Jackson have boots on, or did he have tennis shoes?
Boots. He actually broke down a few years ago and bought a pair.
Okay. Just making sure.
To match some of the tights that he's had for 40 years.
Did Matt Cardona, did he have on shoes or did he have on boots?
Boots. Oh, very nice tights.
Nice tights.
He has entrance robes. He is the reigning NWA heavyweight champion. And if you say anything bad about him, he will shoot you the middle finger right on TV. So.
Well, that's very nice and very.
So classic. I built him up just to tear him down.
Oh man! Hello, guys, and everyone from Rick Rick Brooks. All right.
Hey, Rick.
Eric Crawford. Who won the fight between Mr. Wrestling 2 and Frankie Kane and Macon George in the locker room? I don't know that anybody actually won that. I think it was just a punch, and that was about the extent of it from what we.
Everybody come out with a black eye.
Yeah. I don't think anybody won that. I think it just was pop, and nobody was going down. So, after a while, when you punch somebody a few times, you don't go down. You kind of say, well, maybe we need to stop this. This gets to get a little bit too.
They should have saved it for the Oscars.
Yes. True.
This is true. Donna Hall, how you doing, Donna? From Montgomery, Alabama. Hello, guys. I just wanted you to know, in my opinion, this wrestling show is one of the best shows online. Thanks for all you do to keep wrestling alive. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you so much, Donna. Great people we have known, I guess, since 1983. I think is when we met Donna. Hi, everyone, from Joel Bateman.
Go ahead.
Sports entertainer. Kevin Penley. Who's the sports entertainer?
Kevin Penley is the sports entertainer.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, he agreed with us at some point.
He's got some brand new shoes he just bought, some Reeboks, and he's ready for action tonight.
The Reebok King will be with us on this program right here. Oh, boy. I agree. Let's see. Charles Bellflower. Is the proper team term trunks or tights? I guess you can call both, can't you?
Well, it's according to what they are. The trunks are the like the old bathing suits type. Just didn't have anything on the legs. Basically, that's trunks. Tights are the long tights that completely cover the legs.
Oh,
so they're both correct.
When the Infernos wore the whole thing, would they be considered tights? Just with the.
That's correct. And then when they're not wrestling, they can also use it in the ballet.
Hey, at least they have 2 jobs they can do.
That's right.
And then sometimes some of the arenas had the actual auditorium next to it, so you just walk over there, do that, and come back over and wrestle. Nobody would ever know. Straight to the point, Rodney. Yes, he will get straight to the point. He will not. I was trying to build this up, little intrigue, little stuff going on, and he just had to chop right.
All I mentioned is that you said the word wrestlers and shoes, and they just don't go together. I'm sorry. I just wanted to correct that.
Richard and I agree. Wrestlers should wear boots. Michael Barr, tights, trunks, and mask. Knee pads are part of wrestling gear, so are boots. Number 48. Hatui.
That's right.
The Iron Sheik. Hey, Mr. Cameraman, zoom me in. Zoom me in, Mr. Cameraman. I always love that.
Oh, Sheik could stir up a crowd better than I've ever seen anybody. I'm telling you right now.
I will tell a story. Soon we're going to be doing, if you're a supporter, we're going to be doing some videos that we would not talk about here. And I'll tell a story about the Iron Sheik when he wrestled in an independent show somewhere. That's very interesting, but I cannot tell that story here. I will tell that story on the supporter deal. And we will be doing that probably sometime in the next few weeks. If you're a supporter of the program, and we may have a different way to support the channel as well. So we've talked about this for a long time. We're going to tell stories we wouldn't tell here. So it'll be a completely different show. 45, Magnum TA. Number 44, Jody Hamilton, the Assassin. And number 43, Dennis Condrey. All great wrestlers. Charles Bellflower. Number 45, Bob Roop. He must have had plan A at that point instead of plan B. 44, Chris Adams. Number 43, Magnum TA. But, Bob Roop in his younger years, very good wrestler. If you go back and watch the stuff. I wasn't too big a fan in the 80s of Bob Roop, but I thought he was tremendous in earlier tapes. 44, Joel Bateman. 44, Tully Blanchard. Tully Blanchard. Michael Barr, Arn Anderson. Number 45 here, number 44, Magnum TA. If Magnum TA would have continued wrestling, he'd been number 1 probably because he got better and better every year. Would John Cena look out of place in trunks than jorts?
Actually, he petitioned Vince to let him turn heel at some point, and he wanted to go back to trunks and boots because he thought that would make the heel turn even more convincing. And of course, that never got approved, but he wanted to do that.
Well, all I know is you can't see me, so it wouldn't matter anyway. Rodney, what do you think? John Cena look at a place in trunks than jorts. Is that how you say that, jorts?
I actually don't think that it was his tights or his tennis shoes that got him over.
No, it was he had.
It was his ability. It was the gimmick. He could have wore anything, any tights except for those powder puff blue ones he was wearing in the beginning. Very stylish.
What did the Rock call him? Fruity Pebbles one time on this because he wore all.
Well, he was. Well,
he became Fruity.
No, he was on Team Fruity, if you remember.
Yes, that's what he called it. Rock
Fruity Pebbles. Yeah.
If you ever have the opportunity, go on YouTube, watch The Rock, the best deals on. He had so much great stuff. He was so good at what he did.
Well, I mean, Cena did rip everything off from The Rock. Let's just
a little bit. He did. He did do that, didn't he?
Yes, he
professional wrestlers should look the part. Richard Hood. Yes, we agree with that. Donovan Graham.
Are they taking notes tonight or what?
What was in the loaded boots of the Infernos? We actually could have got that boot and we would have had it and we could show you. But we didn't go pick it up. That boot actually was a real loaded boot. It had a little device in it that it would roll back, and it was on a little thing, and it would roll back and it would come up to the front, and you could kick somebody with it. And what would happen is on television, they would eventually take the boot off the guy. They'd open up the thing and show the people how it would work inside that would be a great video if that would have been shown today. But they would show exactly how that boot would work. And Jimmy Dykes, JC Dykes is the one that had that developed so that when it was took off, people could actually see that was a working boot. Robert Fuller did not have that, by the way. He just did his foot. Went with it. But
and the glove of Don Carson.
Let's see. I'm not for sure about the glove of Don Carson because I'm not for sure I ever saw him wrestle.
Yeah, it was similar to what Buddy Landale was doing with the glove. Yeah, almost exactly the same thing. And normally they're just loading the glove and they just shake it like that.
Man, I tell you, I wish you wouldn't even came up with Donovan. I wish you wouldn't even said anything about that. We would have had that thing. We could show you right now that loaded boot. We had in videotapes and where he would. Oh man. Well, I've depressed myself now. Number 43, the Great Muda. Yes. You look professional if you don't not booked. Glenn Allen Shelton.
Yeah, you either look professional or you don't get booked. That's
I agree with that. Gentlemen, hello from how do you rate Will Smith's slap to Chris Rock? I think Jerry Lawler's slap to Andy Kaufman much better.
Dr. D. David Schultz is the one who set the standard for all slaps.
That's right. That's right.
If you're going to slap a man, you should see his soul leave his body.
That's right.
This is true. Because boy, he was slapped old Stossel. Woo, man, he knew he was slapped. Can you explain how that little bit worked? Well, we kind of explained a little bit of how not everybody had anything in it, by the way. No, just it was just a way to
orthopedic. Well, normally it's just an orthopedic boot. There was no
gimmick in it, but Infernos did have something. Yeah. Jack Dillon, hello guys, hello to you. Unless you're John Cena, got to go with the boots. Eric Crawford. It just makes you a wrestler. I mean, if you want to be a runner, get you some tennis shoes. Run all you want to with those things. Glenn Allen Shelton, but you had to give a month show gear. Yes, I'm with you on that. If you don't have the right gear to be a professional wrestler, if you go out with tennis shoes and some jeans and a shirt, you're not a wrestler. You're just a guy with jeans shoes, and a shirt. You know how to wrestle. Wrestling boots are not that expensive now. How much are you said about $200 now?
$250. I've seen them on sale for $150.
Well, there you go. Wrestlers that don't wear wrestling gear in the ring don't respect the business. Richard Hood.
Send your comments to Richard Hood.
You can send them to us. We'll and Richard
We'll
probably
forward
don't
it.
mind telling you
We'll-
what he thinks.
We'll forward them to Richard. Yes.
You know, those people don't mind telling us what we think, what they think. So why can't we just tell you as well? I mean, you know, as far as that goes, I've never cared for barefoot wrestlers either. If it meant now to me, the Scuffling Hillbillies, it fit them. Tojo Yamamoto, it fit. Not so much Kevin Von Erich.
All the Samoans.
Yeah,
You know, it worked for me.
yeah. Hey, did the Moondogs have? Did they wear? They wore boots, didn't they?
They wore boots.
I thought they did. I thought they had boots on. Glenn Allen Shelton said, friend sold his for $75.
Hey, I used to have guys all the time because I'm in the gear business. They would sell me boots, you know, where they'd buy new ones or they'd leave the business or whatever. And I could turn around and sell those, make a little money off of them. I haven't had anybody sell used wrestling boots in years because nobody's buying them anymore.
Glenn, when he sold his boots, did he start wrestling in his tennis shoes? So he did. Richard Hood, Rocky Johnson, number 45. Hey, if you have not seen the new installments of The Rock, The Young Rock, you're missing something. Tremendous show. Like we've said before, don't get stuck in whether or not those wrestlers were there at the time because they probably wasn't. But they had Downtown Bruno. He showed up on the show, and the guy that plays him tremendous. I thought he did Downtown Bruno very well. Seen a couple guys from Walmart, but he had gear. That's Glenn.
Okay.
Gear from Walmart. Paul said, "Where do you get wrestling boots? I've never seen professional wrestling boots in any sporting goods store."
You won't find them in sporting goods stores. They're specialty places. And once you get in the business, I'm going to tell you how it used to work back when I started. You had B&A boots. I'm trying to remember the place in Texas that I eventually, Clifford Macias out in Texas. And then you had K&H for wrestling types. And once you got trained, you were given those numbers. And you called those places to order what you wanted. Those places turned around and called your trainers to make sure you weren't a wrestling fan because they didn't sell to wrestling fans. If you weren't trained, you didn't get the stuff. So they checked and verified your credentials. Now there's plenty of places out there. I recommend there's a guy in Australia. There's one in Texas. There's one in Puerto Rico. They're out there, but you have to kind of still be inside the business to know where to go for those places.
There you go. So if you, Paul, if you want to get back into the wrestling ring, Jack will train you for about 6 weeks, and then he'll sell you some for $1,000, and you'll be good to go. Sometimes I'm wondering if that's what's going on in the wrestling business now. Is the 6 weeks training? Oh, here's your certificate. You're trained to be a professional wrestler. Give me my $1,000. Buy wrestling boots and not wrestling or boxing shoes. I agree with you. You know, if you are a boxer, they tell you what to wear. By the way, you can't just wear what you want to.
No tennis shoes? What?
They tell you what you can. If there's tennis shoes, they tell you what kind you can wear.
They can't come in with blue jeans?
No, they will not let you do that.
What kind of people? These are fascists. They are fascists in boxing.
I don't even think MMA will allow you to do that. I believe you have to have a certain type of it and certain type of if you're going to put tape on, you have to have a certain type of tape. Oh, but you know what? It's only professional wrestlers that decide they don't think they need to be told what to do. I think they've listened too much. I think they've listened too much of what people have talked about that happened years ago in wrestling. I think they believe that the wrestlers just did everything they wanted to do. And that was not the truth. That is not the truth. Hey, yo. Hello, everyone. Happy 63rd birthday to Michael P.S. Hayes. You know, he looks older than that, don't he? Just thinking.
Well, rode hard and put up wet.
AEW might make a run, but look at WCW. I think, are there not parallels to them both companies? Aren't they doing the same exact thing? I mean, why would you copy something that went out of business? The next thing you know, Vince Russo is going to be there. That's going to be the next booker there, and that'll put them out. I like the suit and tie look, but for pro wrestling, trunks, knee pads, and pro wrestling boots. There you go. Joe Bateman, by the way. Eddie Dale. LMW is a whole lot better. LMW. I'm not for sure I know what that is.
Eddie, let us know what
I
that
think you
stands for.
meant MLW.
MLW. Yeah, okay, all right.
Okay.
Is a whole lot better than Vince can take a hike. The only problem is, I guarantee if you talk to the guy that's doing MLW, I guarantee he probably says, "Well, I've only lost, I don't know, $50,000." So he doesn't run a lot, and it's because he probably loses every time he has to build that money back up to run. It's very expensive to run professional wrestling, and
I
unfortunately,
will agree though that I do like MLW's product.
Eric Crawford said WWE too much money. Is that what he's saying? I'm not for sure. Eric, kind of explain what you mean in that respect with that. In Adrian Street's old wrestling wear catalog, wrestling clothing maketh a man. You only get one chance to make an impression. That was when sold wrestling gear, including boots. And you know what? He does what he's saying is true. Do you want somebody to remember you? Or you want them to say, was that the guy that was sitting on the front row? I think I saw him there last week. Now he's wrestling, and then he didn't have boots and stuff. That's the reason. And the promoter didn't have to pay him, so they put him in the ring. So sometimes I think that happens. Don Morocco, number 44. Yes. Playboy Buddy Rose, tremendous wrestler, by the way, number 43. Take away the belts, and there are no champions. Michael Barr. Victor Nash, Eric Crawford, AEW might overcome WWE now since Tony Khan bought RH. And don't be surprised if A&R does a once-a-year pay-per-view together like WrestleMania. Unfortunately, though, Ring of Honor did pay-per-views for a long time and didn't draw anything and lost a ton of money. So I'm not for sure that's going to help them any.
When I heard the news of Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor, I lit a candle and the candle burned out. So the excitement's over with on my end.
Ring of Honor has never had any real success. Let's just be honest with ourselves. They really haven't. They're more of the is at the beginning when they first started. And I don't know how long it was, but you think about it, Sinclair Broadcasting had no luck whatsoever with that company.
It's when you hear of a movie and they say that it has critical success, that means that people respect what they did, they like the product, but nobody's buying a ticket to see that movie, and that is the problem with Ring of Honor because they had a great product. They did. I don't know if it was marketed. I don't know if it was the areas they ran. Uh, I wish that they had been a big viable company, but you know what? If they had been, they wouldn't have been for sale.
Yeah.
Now Tony Khan is wanting to turn it into. He's wanting to save it. That's great. It's got some name recognition. I don't know who recognizes it other than their same fan base that couldn't keep them in business. But he's wanting to use it as a feeder system, his version of NXT for AEW. Not a bad idea. Other than the tape library, I don't know what you do with it though.
You know what I can already see. Tony Khan was in there talking to the people at Sinclair and would joke off, and they would say, "Well, we're really needing about $30 million for this product and everything." Says, we'll give you a little bit of time to think about that, but we really need that. We got almost 12 years worth of stuff. They leave the room and they're just sitting there with each other, and they're going, man, you think he'll go for that? I don't know. So They come back in and Tony says, you know what? I talked to my father and he's going to give me $30 million to buy that place. He leaves the room and they high five each other and go, man, I cannot believe we found a sucker to buy this thing for $30 million. We couldn't even make it work, but Tony Khan can. He'll just lose another $30 million on that as he's trying to get it going. I hope he don't. But
the only way, of course, there's always, and still rumors. I've not seen anything concrete about this. If he has a deal with HBO or some other major company like that can carry that product, if they're interested in streaming the older stuff, and he knew what they were willing to pay for that, and let's say they were willing to pay $60 million, then $30 million is a pretty good investment.
The only thing I want to ask you is who's working at HBO that said, so wait a minute now, we're going to get that Ring of Honor. All right, okay. Let me see if I got this right. You're going to sell us. We're going to get that Ring of Honor programming, and oh man, that's such a great idea. And that you did not somebody sitting around going, well, only 20 people watched them in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they moved them to 3 a.m. Did they not tell them that? Nobody even watched it locally, but hey, they're going to watch it on HBO. I don't think so. I'm sorry. I'm sorry they didn't. I mean, they put the show at 3 a.m. because nobody was watching it, and that was Sinclair that did it themselves. They're the ones that changed that and put it to 3 a.m. Not they own the company and put it at 3 a.m. They didn't even think that was worth anything. All right, let's. We got to move on. We got to move. Tony, with MJF right now. By the way, stop all the behind the scenes crap. Nobody cares nothing about that.
Yeah, I don't know that either one of them can afford to be mad with the other very long, and I
mean, why talk about angles and storyline? Why talk about that on the TV? Because most fans don't even know what you're talking about. Only the diehard wrestling fans have a clue. The rest of the people going and said, what do you mean an angle? What's he talking about? What's an angle? I don't even know what that means. You just lose them when they turn the TV and they don't ever come back because they don't know what you're talking about. Keep it simple so they understand what you're talking about. Drawing keeps you in from Glenn Allen Shelton. Joel Bateman. I don't like the new WWE belts. Do y'all like the new WWE belts?
I don't particularly like them, but I understand why they're doing them from a marketing standpoint. They're mass producing those, to sell to fans, actual replicas, and then you've got the kids version. And no matter where you're at, those belts are recognizable.
That's true. That's true. Joe Hamlin. Good evening, guys. From Williamsburg, Kentucky. I like the Williamsburg, Kentucky. I always did pretty good in Williamsburg, Kentucky. Jason Mundy, what do you guys think about the fallout between Ric Flair and Mark Madden over the Flair's project? Was Mark Madden the guy that was the co-host with him?
On this newest version, I think this is the third version of the podcast. And Mark announced first, I think on Twitter, that he was leaving the show. He was very nice about it. No dirt was slung. It was just, hey, this is my last show, and wish everybody well. And then Ric Flair turns around immediately, almost, and says, "Oh well, I fired you." So now we've got this little war of words, which I want to look inside myself and go, I don't care. I just don't care.
Rodney, did you know? I didn't even know Mark Madden was one of the guys that was there. I didn't even know it was him doing it. Rodney, did you know anything about any of this?
Well, I know that all of those podcasts that I listened to, it was just riveting. Okay, I haven't heard any of them. Sorry.
Eric,
I tried to build that up, but I didn't hear it.
You didn't have nowhere to go with that. It was it's like watching a Johnny B. Bad match. There was nowhere to go. Happy birthday from Michael P.S. Hayes. From Eric Crawford. Let's see. Lance Gardner. What's up, fellas? Not much. We're just talking professional wrestling. Right, Rodney, the storylines need to be that such a wrestler's build up the business. Bless you. Rodney was coughing.
Thank you. I'm the pollen and allergies is just.
Hey, my hand is on the mute button over here all the time because I'm about to cough my head out.
The new is wearing off. I guess he's talking about AEW. Joe Bateman says CM Punk not on my list, and he is not on mine as well. I like CM Punk. I think he has the greatest matches in AEW. Out of everybody there, he has wrestling matches. They are wrestling matches, by the way. But
Jimmy Cornette did a review of last week's AEW, and he said CM Punk, Dax Harwood match. He said probably one of the best wrestling matches he's seen in years. He said, but you're surrounded with other stuff that don't mean anything, so you can't capitalize off of it. And I agree with it.
I do watch CM Punk's. I watch it on YouTube. I only watch that, and if Daniel Bryant or Daniel whatever his name is, Bryant Danielson is wrestling. The rest of them I don't care about watching. I know those are going to be wrestling.
The Bella Twin husband.
You go.
The one I don't think it's his wife that thinks Vader's still alive. It's the other one.
Is that what you got in trouble for, saying that Vader was still alive?
Well, it could be misconstrued that way. I don't know. She's talking about his presence, and can't wait to hear the speeches. And, the way she worded it sounds like she's unaware that he has passed on. She may not have meant it that way, but
I'm hearing a helicopter.
She's probably thinking with an implant.
I'm hearing a helicopter come over. You don't think that the cons I've listened and they're on their way in the helicopter because it seems very low. You don't think they're going to land in the backyard, do you?
Does Vince have a helicopter?
No, Vince doesn't. I don't think Vince has.
They don't have a helicopter either.
Athena, aka Ember Moon, supposed to debut on Dynamite tomorrow night. I don't even know if I know who that is.
She's really good. She's from Texas, I believe, originally, and paid her dues in the independent scene out there. She's really good talent. Not a traditional look, which is probably why Vince didn't.
All right, here we go. Kevin Pilling, you break up all that talent and spread it into ROH. Yeah. Eric Crawford, I would love to see the competition. Victor Nash, it would be good for wrestling. Wendy Harkins, I don't know if it'd be good for wrestling, but it's certainly been good for the wrestlers. AEW is supposed to have new female talent debuting tomorrow night for the tournament. Have y'all happened to see? Take your glasses off. You're going to watch the bunny wrestle because you don't want to see it. Oh, man. The bunny is horrible, and why you'd even want to use her, I don't know. She looks good, but that's as far as it goes. Rodney, have you seen this bunny? Have you seen the bunny?
What show is that on?
AEW.
No, I've not seen that.
Let me be the first one to say, yeah, she looks good. I'm sorry, I'm the second one.
Do you know MJF plans on putting AEW or WWE in a bidding war in 2024 for him?
I would suggest he not play that game. He'll end up with no job.
I don't know that is anything more than a work.
Yeah.
And in fact, if I had to guess, that would be what I would be saying right now.
Yes.
Plug nickel is what he would get from me.
Sometimes I wonder if MJF has the turn-off heat instead of the heat because he goes too far.
Sometimes he does go too far.
And you have to be very careful that people don't turn the TV channel on.
There's a difference between heat and real heat. You don't want the real heat.
No.
Real heat gets you stabbed.
I would like to see wrestling keep on going and not sell itself out due to not signing on good talent and storylines. Yes, we would all like to see that. WW NXT in 2 minutes, I guess, is starting. Oh, yeah. I think he's talking about the Macho Man Randy Savage. Wendy Harkins, Jack, wasn't she the one that wrestled Bambi back in October?
Yes, she was.
Michael Barr, true, Brent. These high flying stunts are hurting too many wrestlers. Yes, they're going to have to do something about it. And unfortunately, something probably will do about it when somebody gets killed live on television. And that's going to be very detrimental.
And we almost had that not long ago with Big E.
Yeah. They keep on doing it. It's going to happen. And there'll be no television. Network television will ever touch professional wrestling. So keep on doing it, big boys, and you won't have to worry about you're not going to be in the wrestling business either. Let's let's quit putting people's lives on the line because it's not helping you get any more ratings. Still on my thought, all should be wearing trunks, tights, and boots, separating the workers from the audience. Shoes are a cheap way out. Not a fan of the shoes from Stuart Kemp.
Well,
Glenn
that way, if something happens, you have a blowout in your tennis shoes. One of the fans in the audience can throw them their shoes, and they can put them on.
Match between Thunder Rosa and Baker might be a, but the I'm not for sure what that means. So
I don't know. I watched that match, and it was a good match, cage match. You know, I'm not a fan of thumbtacks. I didn't think that was necessary in there. It seemed like they gimmicked the match a little too much. Plus, they're great talents, both of them.
I didn't watch it. I did hear about it. Women doing more than the men, yes, and they're usually having better matches than the men. So, Richard Hood, keep wrestling on the mat, and you will have less injuries. If you're going to do it, make sure it means something to a finish, because then you at least did it for a reason. You know, Jim Cornette said this, and this is true. If Dusty Rhodes could have found a guy that would have took a dive to the floor and landed on top of the barricade, he would have said, "Oh yes, baby, we're gonna draw some money with this. You just step out of the way. He gonna come running in there. He gonna look like he killed himself. We're gonna carry him out he gonna be gone for 6 weeks, and we're gonna do stuff with the. They're gonna be people they'll be crying in the stands, baby, and then we're gonna carry him out. We're gonna do video all in the hospital. He's gonna be beautiful. Bring him back, draw a lot of money." But no, they'll do that, and he'll get right back up, and he'll get schoolboard up for a 1, 2, 3 count. That's just stupid. NXT go home show for Stand to Deliver just started. Jumping.
I'm recording it so I can delete it later.
Jumping means no ground and pound from Glenn Allen Shelton. Fabe Wrestling was hardcore wrestling. Probably Southern wrestling was always probably considered hardcore wrestling before hardcore wrestling was fashionable. What about Jeff Hardy jumping off the side of the building? Yes, yeah, I saw that. Kill him. Just kill him. Don't make no money with him. Tony Khan, geez, Louise, you do not understand the wrestling business. I wish I had his daddy's money. That's all I know. We have been watching a lot of CWF YouTube videos, Central States, etc. Brings back a lot of memories for sure.
Good stuff.
Gary Craig. Compare the finishing moves from years ago, today's wrestling moves. Yeah, well, that's what they're doing. They're doing them as high spots. Ted used to say this. He said, "Man, they did everything." He said, "They did everything in the match. What do you have to do? You got to go take your bus in and run them over to beat them." You've made it to where no new wrestling fans are going to come in. Not with this current product. There's no way you're ever going to build past that million people or 1.4 million, or it's just not going to happen. I think Raw's now doing 1.8, but you're not going to get past that as long as you're doing crash television. It's just because you got to have a storyline. I want to see a story. I want to see Buzz Sawyer, Tommy Rich build up to that cage match in the Omni. That's what I want to see. Dr. Phil Bullgrice, Dothan, Alabama, by the way, was the standard for wrestling for me. I must say it still is. Those stories can still hook me all these years. See what they're talking about? Stories. Yeah. It wasn't about this. It was about the story. And I think that we're just missing that in pro wrestling.
Well, you can look at it all these years later. It's not the stuff they did in the match that always stands out. It was the story they told about what led to the match, where that match led to after that. That is what's missing. That's where you catch people and get them to listen to this, emotionally invest.
Yes, you can't emotionally invest in just total spots after spots and spots. You just can't. I can't imagine wrestling day in and day like those Mr. Wrestling 2 type dudes did back in the day. Yeah, 7 days a week. If you worked Georgia Championship Wrestling, Monday was Augusta, Tuesday Macon, Wednesday Columbus, Thursday was either Rome, Athens, or sometimes Albany, Georgia. Friday night was Atlanta. Saturday was television. Saturday was television in Carrollton. It's either Griffin or Carrollton or Chattanooga, Tennessee later on. And Sunday was Marietta, Georgia. And that's what you did every week. And that was the Georgia Championship Wrestling territory. Joel Bateman, pro wrestling has changed and not for the better. I would agree with you. George said, come to Barnesville. Now, are you going to put us through that type of wrestling thing? No, by the way, I've seen some of their wrestling shows. Very good shows, by the way.
Very good shows.
I'm just joking.
But George, we're not going through a table for you. We will set it one. We ain't going through it.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, we're probably not going to carry it. Can you find somebody to carry it? We'll push it up and put the legs open, and then if you'll get somebody to put it up for us, we'll sit at it, and do commentary if you need us to do commentary during the matches. But no, a good match. I've seen some of their matches, very good matches. So if you Wrestle America, I think that's what it is, Wrestle America, right?
Yep, Wrestle America.
Tremendous stuff in Barnesville. So get out there. I've seen some of their matches on YouTube, and I really have enjoyed them. Michael Barr, are there any wrestlers in WWF that have good promos at all? I don't watch it, so I can't really. I only watch.
There's some.
I can tell you, Michael, if you watch it like I do, mute. They're all great.
All right, let's hurry up and get through this because we want to. Do you guys think WWA will allow Braun Breaker to induct his father and Uncle Steiners in the Hall of Fame? I don't think so because they haven't done have they changed his name yet?
They haven't, but they do have the rights to the name now. So there's speculation that when they bring him up to the main roster full time, they may change it. As to who's going to induct, I don't know. I mean, really, they seem like they have the Hall of Fame has been almost secondary, other than the Undertaker this time, because they've just waited and waited and waited about announcing just about anybody that's going in besides Taker.
Well, most of them probably said, "You want me to do what? Oh, you have a Hall of Fame? I didn't know you had a Hall of Fame. I don't even watch your program. I didn't even know you're still in the air. I didn't even know you were in business anymore." That's how some of the wrestlers think today. That I hadn't watched you, so I didn't even know you was in business anymore. The only reason they knew he was business, the Steiners, is because Rick's son worked there. They say, "Well, I know he's working there. I don't know what he's doing." Austin Idol was a good on promos, but dang, Dusty and Slick Rick were world renowned at the stuff. Yes, tremendous. Both of them. AEW French Revival Springboard
That's good. That's good.
Yes, that'll come up. I'm telling you, that'll come up. Would Rodney represent Kevin Sullivan on Steve Harvey's new Judge show?
Yes, as long as there's caning involved, I can guarantee Sullivan will lose.
Kevin Finley, by the way. Victor Nash. The Hardys are going to debut in AAA soon.
I will not watch that one either.
No. Oh, man, they were so good at one time. Eric Crawford, LOL. Jeff Dobe, Stone Cold Steve Austin, or Cody Rhodes, who gets to be a better reaction after their WrestleMania match?
Seriously, Jeff. Seriously.
Steve Austin, hands down. I think Cody Rhodes will get a good reception. And according to how well the match goes, I don't know how he'll get over towards the end of the match. But Steve Austin's going to be over from the minute that music hits till he leaves the building.
By the way, Cody Rhodes never drew any money in wrestling business. I'm sorry. I like Cody. He's probably a good guy. I met him back when Dusty Rhodes, when he was a younger guy, great guy. But he never drew any money in wrestling business. Just like Jeff Jarrett. God bless his heart. I think he's a great guy, but he never drew any money.
Well, let's be honest. There's not many individuals today that has drawn money in the wrestling business.
No, this is true. I'm not trying to be mean to those guys, but the proof is in the
Everybody is going
ratings-
to go
Well-
completely nuts at WrestleMania when Cody comes out there with polka dots and being the common man.
Here's the thing. Vince years ago decided that he did not want individual wrestlers to be the top stars. He didn't want to have to worry about replacing a Hulk Hogan or an Ultimate Warrior or a Steve Austin or a Rock anymore. So he wanted to make the company itself the star of the show. And that's why you basically can take anybody on that program and take them out, insert somebody else into those positions. You know, somebody gets hurt, somebody needs time off, whatever. You stick somebody else in there. You know, they all draw about the same.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter anymore.
You know, and it's sad because if he did take some time to push somebody and didn't make them do stupid stuff, I think you'd see his business go up a little bit because you have to have a star. I mean, you know, I'm sorry, but William Shatner was the star of Star Trek. All right, that's just all there is to it.
Well, they have. I'm trying not to go long here, but they do have their new business model that they've announced, where they're basically not going to keep hiring independent wrestlers anymore. They're going to be hiring these kids straight out of high school, straight out of college, that are athletes that have really no wrestling experience whatsoever. They're taken to the training school, and they hope to debut them now by the time they're no older than 25 years old. Whereas the age cutoff had been 30 because they would find these young independent wrestlers, but it would take them years to get all those bad habits out of them to wrestle WWE style. Well, when you're starting from scratch and they don't have those bad habits, they're going to progress quicker. And if they don't progress, that's the reason they're giving 3 month deals out the door. In 3 months, if you ain't catching on, hey, there's a whole bunch of more college graduates out there we're going to lock into and see what we can do. It's, it's almost like a puppy mill, I guess, in a way you'd say, but it's smart business on their end.
It is because today's wrestlers have a problem listening to what the promoter wants them to do. They want to do it their way. They've done it their way so long, they think that's the right way. And I don't blame them. I think it's, think about the way the business model was years ago. You would find a wrestler, you would train them the way you wanted them to be trained. They did not take a guy that got trained at the back at the VFW, in the back of the VFW, not actually in the VFW, but in the back of the VFW on the actual grass. They didn't let that guy become a wrestler. And so I think it's a great ideal. And I've seen all these women that they've got. They're not little tiny women. They're all women that look like they're in shape and they could really kick your tail. And I think that's going to be good. Shiki Baby from Jerry. Yeah, Shiki Baby. What a character. Cool from Eric Carver. Okay, we're going to get this. We're going way over today. Do you agree that the Iranian hostage crisis played a big part in getting the Iron Sheik over? Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Could you do that today? Probably not. No. You'd probably get thrown off television if you tried to do that today.
I've had a lot of guys wanting to order Russian gear, so if that says anything.
I don't know that I would do that today. I don't know that I don't think it'll play as well as it did. And truly, it did not play too well in TBS. You remember Sheik had the flag and it had the Atoli on there. I think they told
Ayatollah Khomeini.
I think they told him he couldn't use that anymore.
Nope.
On television. They said you use that again, you're done. You're done. We can't have you on television, and that's TBS sent that. So even then, now I guess you can do anything on TBS. John Cena should have kept wearing the wrestling boots that look like basketball shoes.
That was not his choice. You know, he wore what he was told to wear.
Yeah, they do tell you what to do in the WWE. So you inspiring wrestlers that decided you're just going to do whatever you want to do. Guess what? Wrestle all you want. You're probably never getting to the WWE because the people that came before you didn't do what they were asked and did not want to do the things that were asked of them. It didn't hurt. It didn't hurt. That's for sure. People wanted to hurt that man. He had heat. Wendy Harkins. The reason The Rock called Cena Fruity Pebbles is because the different color jerseys. That was so good. That was just tremendous. Brent, don't forget about us on YouTube. Everyone on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. By the way, the channel is just we just every day we just keep on picking 20 30 people up every day. So thank you so much for those people that we're going to do stuff on YouTube. By the way, we are going to be doing some stuff on YouTube. We're going to pick up Wrestling 2. We're going to continue our story on Wrestling 2, continue our story on the Freebirds. That's going to be coming up in the next few weeks. Chris Rock, a lot smarter than Will Smith. He came off looking like a heel. I bet he wouldn't have slapped The Rock. I bet he wouldn't have done that. I don't bet he wouldn't even try to get up out of the seat. He would have looked over at his wife and says, "You're going to have to take care of this. I don't think I'm coming." I think, Jack, you've muted yourself.
I wished it was Dave Chappelle that had been up there, because he would have had an hour of comebacks. Then he would have done 3 Netflix specials putting her down.
Tree Richard Hood wrestling boots are made for pro wrestlers from Michael Barr. Retired in 2000, so got rid of them from Glenn Allen Shelton. Jeff Dobbs, Jack here in Oregon, wrestlers are trying to sell ring or wrestling boots for $250.
So send them my way. I'll tell them where they can get them. Brand new ones for that price.
The only time I saw Downtown Bruno was I like to hurt people from Rick Brooks. Downtown Bruno was a nice guy. He really was, and really must have had a great heart, from what The Rock says. Hello from Victor Nash. Let's see. Good evening, everyone. From Michael. Michael, he's a little late getting in here. Where's that fine for Michael there? Network is kind of off tonight. Yeah, I guess he was watching NXT, I'm guessing. Richard Hood, Jack, when did wrestling boots become different from boxing boots?
I don't know exactly, but I know, way back in the day, a lot of the wrestlers actually wore wrestling boots for many years. I remember, noticing that in the 40s, the 50s. So I guess that, of course, the soles on wrestling boots don't last very long. There's not much of a sole at all on those. So guys probably started saying, well, hey, I'm wrestling 5-6 shows a week. These soles are wearing out in about 2 months. How about putting sole on that? So, guys started seeing other guys do it, and it kind of led from there.
Wendy Harkins, I enjoyed watching Pat Rowe's video yesterday when he was telling his son about the memories of the shows. He was at the Chattanooga Memorial Auditorium. Yep. They're having a big show as we're taping this night, a big show at the Memorial Auditorium for, I think, St. Jude's. I believe that may be what they're doing. And so he went all the way through that dressing rooms. And I noticed the dressing rooms, they didn't clean those up a little bit. That was a little...
that may have been still messy from the last time we were there. I don't know.
Did you notice all the lights? There were lights all over the place in that place. I'm thinking, did you just leave them in the dressing rooms? Made no sense. But it was memories, so many great memories at that Memorial Auditorium. AEW can't compete with Vince's money. Yeah, that's they have the money, but I don't know why you'd want to. Mark Safe from the Will Smith slap today. Hey, you may feel this. Michael, I don't like those belts either. Wonder what the new one is going to look like. Find out Sunday night. Is Sunday night WrestleMania?
Saturday and Sunday. Whatever they're going to do, they're not going to debut the new belt that night, I doubt. They'll make a big ceremony thing out of that.
I'm glad Don Owen finally made the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Great deal. Here is Flight for Life from Glenn Allen. You guys be safe tomorrow with this crazy weather coming in. Yes, no doubt about that. You guys be safe tomorrow. On the there is going to be bad weather tomorrow right here. They also talk, everyone please be weather tomorrow here in the South. And if you're online for bad weather, there are going to be bad weather in this area. All right, I think we're going to have to get off of here now because I think we went over about 30 minutes more than what we usually do. And so we're working on your supporting. We're working on that. Yeah, we just had no luck with trying to do videos for that. So we've had to rethink about how we can do this because the live things just didn't work out. People would show up that didn't even pay for the stuff. So I don't know where they came from, but they would find it somehow. So we had to do something different, and we'll let you know more about that in the next few weeks. All right, Jack, anything we need to talk about before we leave?
Nope. But just y'all stay safe. A lot of weather is coming in tomorrow.
Rodney?
That's all for now.
All right, folks, we'll see you next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now. We thank you so much for being part of the show. And thank you so much for sharing Pro Wrestling Inside Out on Facebook. We are growing just fast now, and we certainly do appreciate it. And we'll see everybody right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Out. Well, we'll just see you next week. Right here, same channel, same time. We'll see.